Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and visionaries of tomorrow, today we gather under the banner of hope, determination, and possibility. Our theme, the golden future, is more than just an idea. It is a vision, a calling, and a responsibility. It is the echo of dreams that have not yet been dreamt, and the light of a world we are yet to build. The future is not something distant that we wait for. It is something we shape moment by moment through our choices, courage, and compassion. The idea that the future simply unfolds like a pre-scripted script is a comforting illusion, but it is one we must reject if we wish to progress. The future is not a lottery ticket that we passively wait to cash. It is a canvas, and we are the artists. Every decision we make, no matter how small, contributes to the shape of what is to come, from the way we educate our children to how we invest in our communities. Every action forms a thread in the fabric of tomorrow. When we believe the future is purely a matter of luck or fate, we surrender our power. But when we realize it is a matter of choice, we reclaim our role as active participants in shaping destiny. Each of us has the ability to influence the future in meaningful ways. Our choices in leadership, our consumption habits, how we treat others, and how we stand up for justice, all ripple outward into the future. A single voice may not seem to matter in the grand scheme of things, but history has shown time and again that change often begins with one person who chooses differently. Rosa Parks chose to stay seated. Malala chose to speak. Elon Musk chose to pursue a vision many dismissed as fantasy. The difference between standing still and shaping the future is simply the courage to act on what you believe in, even if the world isn't watching yet. It's important to recognize that this principle doesn't just apply on a grand scale. In our personal lives too, the future is a result of our choices. Whether we pursue knowledge or ignore it, whether we lift others or compete destructively, whether we build bridges or walls, all these personal decisions culminate in broader societal patterns. If we choose to be kind, to support one another, to take responsibility instead of placing blame, we contribute to a world that is stronger, safer, and more sustainable. The golden future starts with us deciding to be better individuals, moment by moment, decision by decision. Furthermore, the narrative that the future is beyond our control is often used to discourage bold action. It convinces the young to lower their expectations and the old to accept decline. But when we reclaim the belief that the future is a choice, we empower people to lead change in their homes, cities, and industries. We begin to envision possibilities, to imagine better systems, and to take concrete steps toward progress. The golden future is not inevitable. It is not handed down from the skies. It is created deliberately, brick by brick, through the conscious, courageous choices of individuals who dare to believe they can make a difference. Education is not merely the transfer of information from teacher to student. It is the ignition of potential, the cultivation of critical thought, and the preparation of hearts and minds for a world in flux. A society that invests in education invests in its very survival and evolution. True education expands more than memory. It expands vision. It teaches individuals not just to answer questions, but to question answers, to look beyond the surface of facts and see patterns, principles, and purposes. In a world driven by constant change, where industries rise and fall with each technological leap, education must prepare learners not just for a single job, but for lifelong adaptation and growth. A golden future cannot exist in a society where minds are shackled by ignorance or dulled by outdated systems. Education must evolve alongside the world it serves. We must teach not only literacy and numeracy, but emotional intelligence, global citizenship, environmental awareness, and ethical reasoning. Students should not be trained to merely comply, but to create. They should leave the classroom not with memorized dates, but with a sense of direction, equipped not only with knowledge, but with the courage to use it wisely. A student who learns how to learn becomes a citizen who can evolve with the times, innovate in their field, and inspire others along the way. Furthermore, education is the great equalizer. It is the one tool that, if made truly accessible, can break cycles of poverty, dismantle systems of oppression, and unlock human potential in every corner of the world. The child born into hardship can rise through the power of education. The mind dismissed for being different can become a visionary leader if nurtured, supported, and taught to see value in its uniqueness. However, this requires more than schools and textbooks. It requires commitment from leaders, communities, and individuals to prioritize education above short-term profits and political gains. We must also recognize that education doesn't stop with youth. A golden future demands a culture of lifelong learning. Adults too must be given the opportunity, encouragement to grow, reskill, and reimagine themselves in the face of changing times. The world does not stand still, and neither should we. When we build a society where learning is constant, curiosity is celebrated, and wisdom is valued as much as knowledge, we lay down the strongest possible foundation for the future. A future led by informed, compassionate, and empowered people is not just golden, it is unstoppable.
Stop sama laba-laba.
It is unstoppable. It is uncheck. It is innovation is the heartbeat of the golden future. It is the driving force that turns obstacles into opportunities, stagnation into momentum, and dreams into reality. From the printing press to the internet, from light bulbs to electric cars, every great leap in human progress has been sparked by innovation. It is not confined to laboratories or boardrooms. It happens wherever imagination meets courage. Innovation challenges the status quo and redefines what is possible. It dares to ask, what if, and answers with action. In an era where change is constant and challenges are complex, innovation is not just desirable, it is essential. The power of innovation lies in its ability to transform entire societies. A new technology can redefine economies, a scientific discovery can revolutionize healthcare, and a creative approach to education can unlock talent previously left behind. Innovation fuels entrepreneurship, powers job creation, and leads to more efficient, sustainable solutions for global problems. It is not just about convenience, it's about survival. Climate change, resource scarcity, pandemics, and inequality all require innovative responses. climate change will belong to those who can think differently, act boldly, and innovate with purpose. Yet, innovation cannot thrive in an environment of fear, rigidity, or suppression. It requires freedom. Freedom to fail, to explore, to experiment, and to ask dangerous questions. That's why fostering innovation must begin with culture, a culture that values creativity, tolerates risk, and encourages collaboration across disciplines and generations. Schools, companies, and governments must support spaces where new ideas can flourish without fear of punishment or ridicule. We must stop treating failure as the opposite of success and start recognizing it as a stepping stone toward discovery. The most innovative minds in history were often the ones who were once misunderstood or dismissed. Moreover, innovation must be ethical and inclusive. Progress that benefits only a few is not progress, it is privilege in disguise. We must innovate not just for profit, but for people and the planet. The golden future is not one where technology outpaces humanity, but where it uplifts it. We need innovation in renewable energy, in equitable healthcare systems, in accessible education platforms, and in inclusive governance models. Real innovation doesn't just advance us forward. Engineering proceed, the cause of advance key. The future death skill is even Kosvita the Karastika cost does yet. Resilience is the invisible strength that transforms struggle into strength and adversity into advancement. It is not the absence of hardship, but the ability to rise in spite of it. In the path toward a golden future, obstacles are not detours. They are the very terrain on which greatness is built. Every person, every society, every generation must face trials that test their will, their faith, and their capacity to endure. Resilience is what determines whether we crumble under pressure or emerge stronger than ever. It is the core of every comeback, every reinvention, every story of transformation. It reminds us that pain is not the end. It is often the beginning of something far greater. Throughout history, humanity's most defining achievements were not born in times of comfort, but in moments of crisis. Wars, pandemics, economic collapses, and natural disasters have left scars, but they have also inspired the greatest innovations, reforms, and awakenings. The resilience to survive the storm often gives birth to a clearer understanding of what truly matters. When we are forced to confront weakness, we often discover hidden strength, and when old systems fail us, we find the courage to build new ones. This is the paradox of progress. The golden future is not forged in perfect conditions, but in the fire of trials overcome. Resilience is not just about enduring hardship. It's about learning and adapting from it. The most resilient people and communities are those that use setbacks as fuel, not anchors. They ask, "What is this teaching me?" instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" They respond to rejection with reinvention and to failure with refinement. In doing so, they grow not only stronger, but wiser. They become more agile, more innovative, and more compassionate. Whether it's a student failing an exam, a business collapsing under market pressure, or a nation recovering from conflict, Resilience is what enables the bounce back, not as a return to the old, but a leap towards something better. Moreover, resilience must be cultivated both individually and collectively. It begins with mindset. Teaching ourselves and others that struggle is not shameful but essential. But it also requires systems that support people in difficult times. Mental health care, social safety nets, disaster response plans, and inclusive policies. A society that builds resilience into its culture and institutions is a society prepared not just to survive the future, but to shape it. The golden future will not be handed to those who never fall. It will belong to those who learn how to rise again and help others do the same. Unity is not the absence of differences. It is the triumph of shared purpose over division. In a world of diverse cultures, beliefs, and backgrounds, true unity doesn't mean uniformity. It means harmony. It is about recognizing our common humanity while honoring our unique identities. The golden future is not a solitary path. It is a collective journey that requires all hands, all voices, and all hearts. No individual, no community, no nation can thrive in isolation. Whether we are addressing climate change, building peaceful societies, or advancing technology, the challenges we face today are too vast for fragmented responses. Only together can we achieve what once seemed impossible. History offers us endless examples of what disunity can destroy. Empires that collapsed under civil strife, movements that crumbled from internal conflict, and opportunities lost to rivalry and suspicion. But it also shows us what unity can build. Nations forged from revolution, civil rights movements that transformed laws and minds, coalitions that defeated global tyranny, and international alliances that preserve peace. Unity is the engine behind every major step forward in human history. It is what allows people to dream bigger than their individual lives, to invest in futures they may not live to see. Implicate, that's not essential. That's not unity that helps explore resistance. Yet unity is not something that happens automatically. It must be nurtured and protected. It requires empathy, the ability to listen, understand, and respect others even when we disagree. The recognition that we do not have all the answers and that others may offer perspectives we've never considered. And it requires patience, the willingness to have difficult conversations, and the courage to stay in the room when things get uncomfortable. In today's polarized world, where people are often encouraged to shout louder rather than listen deeper, unity is both a radical act and a revolutionary force. Moreover, unity is the root of sustainable peace and prosperity. A united community supports its weakest members. A united nation uplifts the marginalized and seeks justice for all. A united world can fight poverty, disease, and discrimination in ways that fragmented efforts never could. The golden future depends on this kind of solidarity, not as a feel-good ideal, but as a practical necessity. It is through collaboration that we build bridges over walls, plant seeds in barren soil, and offer hope where once there was only conflict. Unity empowers individuals to become part of something greater than themselves, a movement, a mission, a legacy. And in that unity, the foundation of a brighter future is laid. Empowerment is the act of unlocking the strength that already exists within people. It is not about giving power, but awakening it. A truly golden future is impossible without widespread empowerment, because real lasting progress comes when individuals feel capable, valued, and responsible for the world around them. When people are empowered, they become agents of change rather than passive observers of fate. They believe they can make a difference, and that belief propels action, innovation, and leadership. Empowerment does not just transform individuals. It transforms entire communities and cultures. By igniting movements that challenge injustice, question norms, and demand better. Empowerment begins with access. Access to education, healthcare, resources, and opportunities. Without access, potential remains dormant. A mind that is never challenged, a voice that is never heard, and a dream that is never supported cannot contribute to the future we hope to build. Empowering individuals means ensuring they have the tools they need to succeed and the freedom to pursue their purpose. It also means breaking down the barriers that restrict potential: poverty, discrimination, systemic inequality, and fear. True empowerment is inclusive, recognizing that every person, regardless of gender, race, background, or ability, has something vital to contribute. However, empowerment also involves responsibility. When people are empowered, they must use their voice not only for themselves but for others. They must lift while they climb. In this way, empowerment becomes a cycle of impact. A teacher empowered with knowledge passes that empowerment on to students. A community organizer empowered with tools for change can mobilize entire neighborhood. A business owner empowered with economic resources can create jobs, fund local services, and support innovation. Empowerment is exponential. It grows in reach and impact when it is shared. And it is contagious. When one person rises, others begin to believe they can rise too. Moreover, empowerment fuels resilience, creativity, and unity, all essential pillars of a golden future. Empowered people are less likely to be controlled by fear because they trust their own agency. They are more willing to take risks, speak up, and step forward when challenges arise. They contribute not out of obligation, but out of ownership. That is what makes empowered societies so dynamic and transformative. They are not waiting for permission. They are not dependent on saviors. They are building, imagining, and leading from within. The golden future requires this kind of ownership, this kind of bold engagement, and this kind of deep-rooted power that grows not from the top down, but from the inside out. Hope is not wishful thinking. It is the fuel that keeps humanity moving forward, even when the path ahead is unclear. It is the quiet voice that says, "Try again," when everything else tells you to give up. In the darkest of times, when the world seems broken and progress feels slow, hope becomes our most powerful resource. It is what gives people the courage to resist, the strength to endure, and the will to imagine something better. Without hope, all other values, resilience, unity, innovation, begin to crumble. But with it, even the most improbable dreams begin to take shape. Hope is not a weakness, it is a defiant strength that refuses to surrender to despair. Every major achievement in history has been born from hope. Hope led abolitionists to fight slavery, suffragists to demand a vote, and civil rights leaders to march in the face of brutality. Hope inspires scientists to search for cures, artists to create beauty, and leaders to envision peace even when war seems inevitable. It is not naive optimism, it is radical clarity. Hope sees what is wrong with the world but chooses to believe it can be made right. It empowers people to endure pain not as victims but as builders of something greater. In this sense, hope is more than an emotion. It is an act of resistance and often an act of revolution. Hope is especially vital for the youth, the carriers of the golden future. When we instill hope in young minds, we give them more than dreams. We give them direction. A hopeful child does not only want to grow up, they want to make the world better. A hopeful student studies not just for exams, but to change lives. A hopeful leader doesn't settle for the way things are, they push for what could be. By fostering hope, we ignite ambition, compassion, and courage. We give the next generation permission to imagine a world that is safer, kinder, and more just. And from those visions, action is born. But hope must be cultivated. It doesn't survive on its own in a world full of injustice and cynicism. It must be protected and nourished through storytelling, through mentorship, through community, and through visible acts of progress. Even the smallest victories, a life saved, a law changed, a voice heard, can reinforce hope and keep the fire burning. We must be intentional in creating environments where hope can grow, especially among those who have been silenced, forgotten, or harmed. Because once people lose hope, they stop trying. Hope ultimately is what gives the golden future its shine. It is the unwavering light that shows us where to go, even when the night is long. As we stand on the edge of what is yet to come, let us remember that the golden future is not a distant fantasy. It is a choice, a responsibility, and a promise. It is written not in the stars, but in our actions, in our voices, and in our wavering commitment to build something better than what we inherited. We must educate with vision, innovate with purpose, rise with resilience, unite with compassion, empower with intention, and hope with conviction. Let this be the generation that doesn't just dream of the future but dares to shape it. Because the golden future begins the moment we decide to rise for ourselves, for each other, and for all those yet to come.